For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in on your favorite podcast app or the one that you just happen to find that carries our show. How's it going today? I got to tell you, the men of daytime TV were they're dominating the headlines right now, with Ryan Seacrest leaving the Live with Kelly and Ryan show, and Don Lemon causing outrage with his comments about women being past their prime outside of their 40s or 30s. That's what we're talking about today, the men of daytime TV. I don't know that that's ever been a trending thing in recent memory, but it is this week. And we're going to talk about that on The Scribble, and it starts right after this.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secret to losing 3 to 5 pounds a week without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt RX. For the last 2 decades, we've helped countless people lose thousands of pounds. And now, it's your turn. Learn how to lose weight with one simple phone call and no prescription needed. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a risk-free money-back guarantee. So, if you're ready to start losing weight, call right now and get a free month supply with your first order of Body Sculpt RX. Call now. You have nothing to lose but the pounds. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. That's 800-459-6838.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. Daytime TV was totally making headlines yesterday on Thursday because I just, unless it's The View pissing off somebody, or I'm trying to think, Wendy Williams having some kind of a, medical health issue, daytime TV largely stays out of the headlines lately, right? I mean, it's generally The View, now that I think about it. They'll either have to, backtrack because they made a comment about something, and, right, Whoopi Goldberg with, the Nazis, Joy Behar is, usually stepping in it, and Sunny Hostin is often... Well, she's declared racist, I guess, by a lot of people because she's always turning things into a color issue, let's say. But yesterday, on Thursday, it was Ryan Seacrest announcing that he's leaving Live with Kelly and Ryan, and Don Lemon, who apparently just seems to hate women. So we're going to talk about both of those stories, or I'm going to talk about both of those stories right now. We were supposed to have our producer, Suzanne, on to discuss that, but she's disappeared. I don't know exactly where she is right now. We were supposed to have her on the phone 13 minutes ago, and she hasn't called in. But maybe I'll try her. No, I'm just going to do this on my own. Okay. Who needs a woman, right, Don Lemon? Okay. Let's actually start with Don. I was going to do the Seacrest one first, but Don Lemon in the past few weeks has made some comments on the show CNN This Morning, which you've probably never heard of and don't watch because the ratings reflect that. Don has made comments about the women's soccer team that nobody wants to watch. Basically, nobody wants to watch women play sports. He's also had apparently a couple behind-the-scenes dust-ups with Caitlin Collins, who's one of the 3 co-hosts on the morning show, where she kept interrupting him. Now, if you look online, there's a montage of clips of one show where they, I guess, were just sort of tripping over each other. She was always kind of trying to jump in, but he also doesn't let her get a word in. So it's sort of like, well, who was in the wrong here? But if you watch that montage, there's actually a point for me, who's been in broadcasting for almost 20 years now. I think I would have been annoyed with it too, but I don't think that she was doing it on purpose. So I see it from both sides. He's the one who's talking, and she's trying to jump in. She's trying to jump in because he's not taking a breath. Hey, I'm the 3rd co-host on this show, let me say something. And so she does it kind of not graceful, not the word, I don't know what the word would be, but you could see that she's trying to get her point in because he's just rambling, and so there's a montage of these clips of this one show, and apparently it was that show in question that had him flip out on her. Now, when I say apparently, these are all the words that we've got to use, right? Apparently, allegedly, supposedly, because the lawyer, you'll get sued if you say he did this and he didn't. So he apparently flipped out on her after the show, or during the show or something, and she ended up leaving because she was just emotionally distraught by what happened. And even onlookers on the crew, the other staff, were sort of like, what's going on? Dawn just had this, like, flip out on Caitlin, and she was then, shocked by that. She was traumatized by it, according to sources at the show. Lemon was not on the show the next day. He was apparently told by boss Chris Licht to take the day and cool off. He was given a timeout, really. And now people didn't know, the public didn't know this story at the time. It's only just recently, in the past couple of weeks. Now that we're in February, we're hearing about this thing that happened in December. And so, fast forward to just this week when Nikki Haley announced her run for the presidential bid, and Dawn goes and says that, a woman, she's in her 50s, a woman is not in her prime in her 20s, 30s, and 40s. He's responding to comments that Haley made about Joe Biden's age, being, 70-something. He'll be 80 if he's reelected. And so Dawn took issue with that, saying, excuse me, lady, a woman is not in her prime in her 50s. A woman is in her prime in her 20s, 30s, and maybe 40s, and that's what Google says. That's what, and Lemon then doubles down and basically is saying, Google it. Google it, you'll see. It's not my opinion. That's what Google says. A woman's not in her prime in her, in her 50s. And you can imagine that caused outrage. Could you believe, right? People were offended by that? Well, yes, it's kind of offensive. Because that's where, Don, before he was demoted at CNN, right? He was taken off his primetime show. A lot of people had the complaint that he was always talking about race, and he was making everything about being black. And so you kind of look at this and go, well, here's somebody who plays the race card all the time. And you could also then say he doubles up or triples up by going and saying that he's also a gay black man, which is why he doesn't get respect from people or opportunities and what have you. And there is some legitimacy to that. I'm not even getting into the race debate. I know that the white man has easier opportunities. I get it, but that's not where I'm going with this. I'm trust me, I know that. But that's also where I could flip that and say, excuse me, I am a gay man. Doesn't matter if I'm white or not, I am gay, so I don't have an easier time than a straight white man. But I don't do that because I don't know. Here's the thing. This is the way I've felt about it in my life, is if I'm not getting the opportunities that I want, whether I'm old, young, white, black, gay, straight, male, female, then I'll create the opportunity for myself. That's what I will do. I won't rely on somebody else's paycheck. I will do it for myself. And look, I've been a boss and I've owned this company for how long? So that's the thing. I will take the opportunity to create my own success. But anyway, so let's go back to Dawn here for a second. And actually, sorry, let me just go back on this gay thing here, because I find that as a gay man, I actually have way more female friends and get along with women much better than I do get along with straight men. Now, it's not a matter of, well, because they all the men think I'm after them, whatever. I'm happily married. That's not my thing. And no straight men are really uncomfortable because I'm professional. I'm not, And so I find it very odd, though, that Dawn makes these comments. Nobody wants to watch women's soccer. You would think that he was being a bro, you'd think that he was actually being a straight guy with these comments. That's what you would think, right? You'd think, oh, yeah, women can't play soccer. No, that's something that I would expect the 20-some-year-old college guy who's trying to be a big shot in front of his friends that, women should be in the kitchen. Women shouldn't be playing sports. But to hear a gay guy saying things like that. Now, you could then argue and go and say, well, maybe he was just trying to be controversial, right? CNN, as I mentioned, that morning show, has struggled in the ratings since the show launched back in, it was November, I think the show launched. And so it could just be a way they say any publicity is good publicity, but not in today's world. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. Maybe people tuned in this morning, right, a day later to see, is Don going to be on the show? Is he going to apologize again? What's going to happen? But come Monday, you'll remember the story, but you're not going to think, oh, I should watch that CNN show again. Because daytime TV, as you know, with shows like Live with Kelly or, the Today Show is more news, so that's a little bit different. But these entertainment shows, they're lighthearted. You're not starting your day with gloom and doom and confrontational battles, which maybe Don is used to from his former primetime show that he was fired from. Oh, he says he was given a promotion to host this morning show with 2 other people. But those of us in the broadcast industry know that a primetime show for a cable news anchor is top billing with your name and everything on it. A morning show co-hosted by 2 other people alongside you is not a promotion, but spin it however you want. So it's fascinating to me that Don makes all these like anti-woman or anti-female comments, because as a gay guy, that's usually your peer group, really. And so then after the blow up, let's say, Don then took to Twitter. Now, I was fascinated because I like to go and read the news stories about things when they happen. So when I hear that the CNN ratings are bad, I will go and Google CNN ratings, and then I'll read all of the LA Times, New York Times, New York Post, Washington Post, Fox News articles just to see how they're reported, because I've been fascinated by news for a long time. That's why I got into the business many years ago. And it was interesting to see, I think it was Variety, it was, I don't think it was the New York Post, a bunch of them reported that Don had apologized. They used the word apologized on Twitter after the backlash. When you read his actual statement, he did not apologize. He said that he regretted it, and that, he misspoke, or he has women in his life that prove that you can be strong, and blah, blah, blah. But there was no actual apology, and that's, you know that these forced statements really don't hold water, or tread water, because you know that he's reacting to that. If he was genuinely sorry, he would say sorry. He's a news guy. He's a journalist. He knows when people are spinning things, and he knows when somebody's not answering a question or evading, that they're being evasive or what have you. A journalist of all people knows this. Now, I don't do hard news. I haven't done reporting or anything like that in a long time. I do entertainment news, so I interview celebrities, I do things like that. I'm not putting them on the spot and grilling them about a scandal. But as a reporter, you know when somebody's not answering your question. That's why I did actually interview a bunch of mayoral candidates from my hometown, probably about 5 years ago or so. I did a feature. And the whole thing was, you have 5 minutes. I'm asking you these questions. You need to directly answer the questions, and you cannot mudsling. So if I'm asking you about a public policy, you can't bring up your other candidates' names. That's just the way this is going to be. I'm asking about you. It's like on The Bachelor, when these people get their 3 minutes with the guy, and they're ending up talking about the other competitors and trying to mudsling them. And I always just go and say, that's your 3 minutes to be about you and to put yourself out there. Why are you wasting your time talking about somebody else? And these politicians, given 5 minutes, I would have to say to them, you haven't answered the question, but we've got to move on. I gave you, however many minutes or seconds, and you didn't answer the question about public transit, or you didn't answer the question about overspending at City Hall. You didn't answer it. And not that I was challenging them, but I just needed to point that out and go, you said probably about a good 1,000 words. I didn't hear an answer in that. So with Don's tweet that he regrets it was inartful, I think was his word, which I'm not sure that's a word. You still look at this and go, oh. And then of course on Twitter you see people going and saying, well, Lemon's never going to apologize because he doesn't want to admit that he was wrong. And he, back with that soccer story I mentioned, he kind of did the exact same thing, where rather than just pause, stop himself and say, okay, look, that was stupid. I was wrong in the moment. He doesn't. He doubles down and just keeps digging and digging and digging. And so, again, you want to ask him and say, do you think that you're making things better by doing that? Because that is totally not what's happening here. You're just making it worse. And that's what I think happens, is that he makes his comment, it falls flat, his co-hosts react and respond, challenge him, put him on the spot, have him repeat himself to make sure they heard it correctly, and he just makes it 10 times worse by doing that. So send me an email. Tell me your thoughts. live@jbonair.com. live@jbonair.com. It's one thing to be sarcastic and playful and silly with your female co-hosts. Look at when I have people like Suzanne Howler or Bonnie Winters on the show, I'm making fun of them. I'm teasing them, but they're laughing along because they're in on the joke. And that's something where I think people would probably listen to that and go, oh my God, Jeremy's saying all these things to women and making fun and making sexist comments to women. Yeah, but it's at the end of the day, I'm going for lunch with these women, an hour or two later, and we are laughing our asses off. And, so it's not like people have to look at that. But Don's comments, they're not in jest. They're not, it's just, they're just because he sits, you have to watch the clips and everything. You just see him sitting at the desk with his arms folded when he's making these comments, and you're just like, dude, it's 7 a.m. Like, why are you so combative? And like, nobody wants to see that when you wake up. There's enough gloom and doom in the world. Why are we being subjected to that? Okay, I've gone on too long. All right, thank you. By the way, it's a woman who's wrapping me up. Well, fuck off. I'm going to talk about Ryan Seacrest leaving live with Kelly and Ryan right after this on the Scribble.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer. Save the money, save the hassles, and get the better blue pill. Dial 800-578-0179. That's 800-578-0179. 800-578-0179.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt, your shoulder hurts, and your back. Oh my God, your back. They're constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore, am I right? Well, here is something you haven't tried. Pain Absolve. Pain Absolve is not available in any drugstore. The only way to get it is by calling today. We're so confident that it will work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase, no prescription needed, and best of all, each purchase comes with a money-back guarantee. Call now to find out how you can get Pain Absolve and get rid of your pain. Call 800-319-0582. That's 800-319-0582. 800-319-0582. Call today, 800-319-0582.
JB here, back on the Scribble, recapping the week in daytime TV, which just really happened in the past 24 hours. Ryan Seacrest announced that he's leaving live with Kelly and Ryan. Now, here's the deal with that show, is being in broadcasting and entertainment, I have heard the rumors from the beginning that he wasn't really enjoying it. Kelly apparently is a little bit difficult to work with. And here's the thing, though, with when you're top billing on your own show, and you know she took the reins after Regis Philbin left, that does give you a bit of an ego, and she had a bit of control with her contract and how, you know, she had some demands, and that if this hour of TV opens up that she gets it, or if there's a move, or if there's some kind of big change, she's got to okay it, and rightly so when you're the star. I mean, it's no different. Well, it's a bit different than me doing the radio shows where it's like, well, this is with my show, when I was hosting a top 40 syndicated show, I'm the host. I'm the person who's making it all happen. The celebrity guests are coming on because of me. The opportunities that we're getting are because of me and what I've built the show up to be as the on-air personality. Now, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work as well. I'm not saying that, oh, well, you know, we did a really good travel show for Montreal. I'm not saying that I could take all the credit for that. But if it wasn't me bringing that energy, because again, it's radio, so it's non-visual. It's right, your audio, you're hearing it. You have to have that energy and that personality that people enjoy listening to, right? Television, a little bit different. You've got to have, you know, the physical presence of being a smiling, pretty face and all this other stuff. And so Seacrest is a pretty face. Kelly Ripa is a pretty face. And Michael Strahan is an attractive guy as well. But he wanted to go for other opportunities. And so when Michael ended up leaving the show, Ripa was apparently blindsided, and she ended up boycotting her own show for a couple days, then coming back and doing this big monologue about workplace respect. With Seacrest's exit, it sounds like she knew about this and wasn't surprised by it. But, you know, when you go from being the host of American Idol and the host of his radio show and being the Kardashian producer and all these things, you can't imagine that he's going to want to take side saddle to somebody on this show. Now, I'm not saying that he came into Kelly and Ryan with the attitude that he was going to take the show and it was going to be his, and then she was going to get the heave-ho, because I think that if either of them were to exit, it would be always the co-host and not Kelly because, like I said, that's just her show. When she's ready to leave, when she chooses that it's over, then she will leave. But I don't think that she would leave and Ryan would carry on the show without her. I don't see that happening. They would probably just cancel the show outright if that was the case, if Kelly was leaving. So we heard these rumblings behind the scenes that Ryan and they were butting heads, and she wanted it this way because it's her show and she's the star. He's like, well, I am the star coming in to save this show. So and all the while the sources at the show were saying that's not. They love each other. They get along. It's great. Remember that Ryan also uprooted himself from Los Angeles, from LA, waking up at whatever god-awful hour, to then hosting his show and doing things in New York. And he was able to start, or to keep hosting American Idol, because that was now an ABC show, moved from Fox when it came back. And he was apparently going back, well, he wasn't apparently, he was going back and forth. So he would do the show with Kelly in the morning, and then fly to LA to host American Idol at night, and then would take an overnight flight or whatever it was to do Kelly and Ryan again in the morning. So that's exhausting because, well, think about it. You're flying across the country back and forth all the time. And so it's just said that, Ryan after 6 years has had enough and he's moving on, and there you go. It's not dramatic. It's not a big exit. It's not, but it's just time. And so those were the two stories, the two headlines. I'm wondering if, Dawn's whole CNN thing kind of upstaged that in the morning, but it was certainly a day where the daytime TV shows were really taking the attention from things. So now this also brings up the question about daytime TV just in general. I mean, are you still watching it? Because I think what ended up happening with shutdowns and everybody being home is you were working from home or you were out of a job, so maybe you were watching daytime TV. But I think that people were mostly sleeping in. If you don't have kids or anything, people were sleeping in during the pandemic. But I want to know about your morning routine. When you wake up at whatever ungodly hour you wake up. See, I don't wake up until about 10:30 most days. But if you wake up at, let's say it's 6 o'clock and you leave the house at 7, what are you doing in that hour? So you're going to maybe shower, you're going to, let the dogs out, feed them, you're going to make breakfast for the kids, you're going to you're most definitely going to be checking social media. I know that for a fact just from having conversations with people on this show about that. People will check their social media before they even roll out of bed because their phone is beside them. I have famously said that we don't sleep with phones in our bedroom upstairs in our house. The phones are downstairs charging. We have a no technology or no phone zone in our bedroom upstairs. But so I want to know what you do in that hour. Are you watching TV? Are you turning on the Today Show to watch the gloom and doom news? Are you doing that still? Shows like The View used to be very fun and lighthearted and silly, and I've had Meredith Vieira on the show and Sherry Shepherd, and then The View got very political, and it's just not the same anymore. And so you don't get that kind of really good feeling because now it's just this battle zone at their table. But anyway, tell me about your morning routine. live@jbonair.com is the email address. live@jbonair.com. What is your morning routine? Because for me, I have to ease into the day. And I said very early on, one of the reasons why I wanted to own my own business, run my own company, was that I'm not, as a creative person, as a writer, it's not a flick of a switch that I can just write or be funny or be entertaining. I don't have the energy like that in the morning. So I remember many, many years ago waking up. This was, in Canada, in the dead of winter at, minus 30, minus 40 degrees. I was waking up 6 o'clock in the morning when it was still pitch black outside and leaving for the day. I would take a bus for about an hour. I'd take 2 or 3 buses, about an hour and some, to go into an office to work. And I remember when there was a bus connection, and I remember standing out there when one of them was late or whatever. And, it's in your blistering cold, you're minus 40 degrees. I'm standing outside for another 10, 15 minutes, shaking and just going, why am I doing this? It's 6:30 in the morning. I can't believe that I've left the house. I'm standing here. I now have to go and work with a shit ton of people that I can't stand for 8 or 9 hours a day. Then I've got to find the energy to come home. And I think I was just listening to a podcast. I think it was Bill Maher was it Bill Maher? Might have been, who went and said, like, other cultures, other parts of the world, there's that song, Everybody's Working for the Weekend. And, you have hump day, and that's kind of like your, midweek, only a couple more days until the weekend, because you're just relieved to get out of your job and not have to deal with it anymore. So for me, I'm kind of like, well, I don't want to do that. If I can basically go into the office and talk about celebrities and talk with celebrities and go and cover red carpet and not really kind of have that regular 9 to 5 sort of makeup shift or make arrangement or setup of my workday, then that's perfect. Because I can't come into an office, and I had jobs as like a corporate copywriter and things back in the day, so I can't come in at 8 o'clock and just start writing at 8:15. Even though I've been awake for 2 hours at that point, that's just not for me. And so same thing, like people would say, well, why don't you do like morning radio? Why wouldn't you do a show in the morning to kind of get people revved for the day? It's like, because I'm not even like that. and morning radio on television as well, you can't fake it. Like, you can't fake being a morning person for that long. Maybe you can do it for the first week or so. Don Lemon, right, who went from primetime to now waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, that's a big shift. And maybe we're seeing that Don is not a morning person. Maybe he is just that old curmudgeon who's, grumpy and grumbly and I'll give my opinion and whatever. But that's not what people want to wake up to start their day. So anyway, I like to wake up at 10:30. My husband will go to the gym. He's a fitness model, so if he doesn't have, photo shoots or whatever for that day, then we ease into. I go to the bath. He goes to the gym for 2 hours. We regroup at noon or 12:30. We'll walk the dogs. We'll go for lunch, and I will get a first run of our entertainment headlines because I'm still an entertainment host. And if a celebrity dies, well, then I do have to get up super early in the morning and talk about it. Or if there's some kind of a big story. And that work day for us is varied. It depends on what it is. We will tape on Thursday nights. We will tape 2 or 3. We'll tape either radio shows or episodes of the podcast, and we'll bank them for a couple more weeks or whatever it is. But it's Thursday night when I hit that stride and go, you know what, I'm talkative, I'm energetic, I'm lively. Sometimes I'll even have a nap on Thursday afternoon, and then we'll start taping at 8:30, and boom, there we go. And that's when you're getting the best JB. You're getting the energy. And same thing with The Bachelor on Mondays. On Mondays, I write a newspaper column, I do our entertainment headlines, and I live tweet Bachelor. There was no chance in hell that on a Monday of all days, I'm waking up at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock to start working. We know that I've got these things to do. I will write my newspaper column at like 10:30, maybe even almost midnight, and that's when I write the newspaper column, and I send it off to the paper, and that's when they expect it. If I send it to them in the afternoon, they will often reply and say, oh, early today. Yeah, just because I get into those patterns. I write at night. That's when I do it. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com. One more segment, or no, we're out of time. I'll be right back on the Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
I think you could have. Jeremy Bradley here back on the Scribble. You caught me mid-sentence just talking to somebody, and I was saying that I could understand Don Lemon getting away with his comments about women being in the past their prime if he was joking about it. Like, if he did have that relationship with his co-hosts where he can, jab at them and they give it right back, and it was that sort of playful thing, because that's something. Now, I'm going to use an example here with Matt Lauer. Let's forget all of his, sexual drama and his scandals. But I could see somebody like Matt, who's got the respect of the audience, is playful. We're rewinding like 15 years, okay? I'm not saying present day. That Matt Lauer making those kinds of joke about women, would probably have flown with the audience because You know him, you know his personality, apparently you know that he loves women, but somebody like that would get away with it. If Ryan Seacrest maybe did it, where if he's got that back and forth with Kelly, just as I said earlier with Bonnie Winters or Suzanne Howler here, our producers, we have that back and forth. They're not offended by it. If the listener is, fine, the listener is offended. But at the end of the day, the women are laughing along with the jokes that I'm making, so that makes it fair game. It's okay. It's okay. They're not being hurt by the insults that I'm throwing at them, because they're not insults, they're jokes. Anyway, one more time with that email address, live@jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Want
for now.
more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some